Hey everybody, Greg Taylor from Marketing Press here. And I had such a great time at WordCamp Sacramento. I wanted to do a voiceover for all of my slides just so that it has some context and so that I can give out some of the information as I did with doing the presentation. Sometimes slides are hard to follow if there isn't a voiceover or context with it. So I figured I would do that, and here we go. So WordCamp Sacramento, this is my presentation. It was on the WordPress and the new age of content. So I wanted to thank everybody who organized WordCamp Sacramento. It's absolutely fantastic event. Brian, Jennifer, Jake, Heather, all the other organizers that I didn't get to meet or talk to. You know, it was an absolute blast. It was a fantastic inaugural WordCamp, and I look forward to putting this on my WordCamp circuit and coming back over and over. So WordPress in a new age of content. But first, who am I? My name is Greg Taylor, founder of Marketing Press, and that's marketingpress.com. But more than that, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a marketer. I'm a podcast guest. I've hosted a podcast. We do our own video show, Marketing Press TV. I'm a blogger. I'm a photographer. I'm a blabber and blabber, not like your drunken aunt at Thanksgiving. Blab, the Twitter platform. So for conversation. So it's a fantastic platform, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But most of all, I really consider myself a content creator. And creating content is where my passion is, and I really enjoy it. So if there's any tweetable moments while you guys are listening to this or watching this, my username is grtaylor2, and the hashtag was WCSAC. So I don't see why we can't keep using that. So content in 2015 is confusing, right? We have writing, we have photography, there's podcasting, videos, SlideShare, there's wikis, Blab, Periscope, Meerkat, ebooks, white paper, all sorts of different social apps, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram, Tinder. I don't really know if that's a content platform, but anyway, it's a platform out there nonetheless. But can you remember when things were simple? Remember when all we had to do is we went into our WordPress site, we created something, we pressed publish, and we called it good. That's all that we had to do is we went out there and we just kind of gave it to the world. And I don't know if there was a lot of afterthought once it was sent out there that, how this content was going to be received or what it was going to do for us or whatnot. But so welcome to the future now. That no longer works. It no longer works for us to press publish and call it good because we've entered the new age of content. So before I get into some of this stuff, and a lot of this is going to be more, is about strategy, and then there's the how-to and the tools, but I want to keep going back to something I talk about almost every single time that I speak. I want to talk about the 3 goals of content. My 3 goals of any piece of content I try to create, just like this, is can I get some search traction out of it and have people consider me a subject matter expert and I can exude my subject matter expertise? Am I trying to create a community around my product, service, or brand? Or am I trying to get conversion? What am I trying to do? And conversion, I'll define conversion for this conversation as getting a user or a viewer to act in a specific way. So whenever I do this, no matter what, somebody always raises their hand and says, well, you left out one goal. You left out the goal of generating revenue. I always come back and we all have the discussion. I say, generating revenue is not a goal. Generating revenue and making money is a byproduct of meeting these 3 goals. If you do well and you meet these 3 goals, you're going to generate revenue. So with that in mind, where should we start with all this thing? So I wanted to start with a very, very basic premise of you are a media company. You are now your own media company when it comes to working with clients, working for your own brand, working for anything else out there on the web. You are a media company and you need to act accordingly. You get to control the narrative. You get to tell people and direct the story in a certain direction. If something comes up, you can correct the facts. Control the narrative, correct the facts. It's a big thing, what we say, my circle of colleagues. Because what happens in fact is you're a storyteller. Marketers are storytellers nowadays. And when you can make your product and your client the hero of the story, and you're just kind of in the background as like Oz, pulling the levers, right? Or the old man behind the curtain, Oz pulling the levers. That's when you start winning. So in order to be a good storyteller, you need to know your audience. And if you know your audience really well, you'll also need to know what story needs to be told. Once you figure out what story needs to be told, you can decide on what story you want to tell. How powerful is that? Control the narrative, correct the facts. What story do you want to tell? What story needs to be heard? And then moving forward, once the story is told and it's out there, let's figure out who owns that story. My company story, my brand story as the founder of the company and as technically employee 1 is much different than employees 2 through 6 for our brand, which is much different than the client experience. So who owns the story? Everybody owns a little part of their story, and how that interweaves and how that all comes together makes the bigger picture of the story. But you don't 100% own your own story. So Seth Godin says marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories you tell. So I wholeheartedly agree. Seth Godin's a brilliant man, and if he says it, well, then we're on to something correct. In order to do this, you need to plan accordingly. What story are you going to tell? How are you going to tell it? You need to execute it. So I am a big believer in a half-baked idea executed is better than an idea sat on. You need to go out there and you need to do it. I'm also a believer that perfection is the enemy of progress. Put something out there. Give it to the world. Let them tell you how they want to interact with it and how they want to deal with it and how it works for them. If you're able to do that, then you are way better off than just having an idea kicking around in your head. So things to remember is, think about this. How helpful is your content? You need to make your content extremely helpful so that what you can do is somebody is searching for a question, for an answer to a question that they may have. If you help them, you're going to be considered a resource. You're going to be considered a valuable resource, and they're going to keep coming back over and over and over. Because being helpful is the greatest way to be able to, compete with everything else we're competing against. Client of ours, Jay Bear, says you're competing for attention against everything on the internet, including cute puppy videos. Now, how can you compete with a cute puppy, right? So if you're helpful, you have a fighting chance in doing this. So 2 different types of content we talk about are viral versus evergreen. Everybody wants to create a viral video, and viral videos are something that you can never plan what's going to go viral and what content is going to kind of take off. But you can plan what evergreen content. You can plan which pieces of your content is evergreen or are evergreen. So evergreen means that it's timeless. That what you write today will stand the test of time, and the principles, the story behind it will also stand the test of time, and it will be helpful. It'll be shared. People will keep going back and back to that piece of content. In order to do this and have your content successful, I encourage everybody to measure everything. Measure the metrics. Measure what's important. What kind of conversion are you getting? How many eyeballs are you getting to your site? How are people interacting? Where are they, with heat maps? So how are they using your site? So these are all things that you can go ahead and you can actually measure, because whatever can be published can be measured. And it's super important to know that. And also, whatever is published needs to be measured. So you have to measure things, because you're not going to know what's working and what's not. So here at Marketing Press, we try to operate under the review, refine, repeat principles of marketing. We review what we've done and look at the analytics. We refine it and we make it a little bit better. And then we repeat it. We launch it out there again. We try to spend more time working on things that work and less time on things that don't work. Because time is always your most valuable asset that you can never get back. So review, refine, repeat. And if you can put that sort of in your daily or weekly marketing flow, then you're going to be head and shoulders above the rest. Whatever content you create, you can post to WordPress. Now we're going to start talking about WordPress here. And the other day, funny when I said When I said that we're going to talk about WordPress, some guy said yay. So I guess he was bored with the first 32 slides, but that's okay. So WordPress is the platform, but what are the tools? What are the content tools, and what are the different media types that we can use? So podcasting is huge. I love podcasts. I love being part of podcasts. I love sitting in on them. They take a lot of work, but man, you want to talk about evergreen content? An interview with somebody 2 years from now could be just as relevant as it is tomorrow. So podcasting is great. And then we talked about, podcasting is also a competitive market. You do know how many downloads the Serial podcast had in 2015? Like a lot. That's all that I know. It was a lot. That was actually a question to them. But you have to remember, you're not Serial. You are going to be competing with everybody else who has the same idea to put out podcasts. And here's a little slideshow, little pie chart. These are all the downloads. This American Life gets the bulk of them. Serial gets the bulk of them. And that little orange sliver, that's you and the rest of the world. And you're competing for that space. So, of course, this is just for demonstration purposes. These numbers aren't accurate. But anyway, I think you get my point. Some production tools that we like to use for podcasts are iMovie, Skype. I use my iPhone a whole lot for, just doing different broadcasts. I like to edit things in Adobe Audition. And the tools that I use for broadcast are Lisbon, Podbean, or iTunes. So it's just as important, to know how you're going to broadcast it as it is to know what you're going to do and what you're going to talk about. Video is another great platform. We do, like I said, the Marketing Press TV, and usually that's quick hits, 90 seconds to 3 minutes of just something that somebody can go out there and impart in their daily digital marketing strategy, or they can use it right away on their WordPress site. It's a great way for people to go ahead, take a little bit of knowledge and run with it. There are longer form shows, and a lot of podcasts are longer form shows, and that's great also, but it's just a matter of what your audience wants. We found that our audience wants those 90-second to 3-minute quick hits. Our video workflow is simple. We create the video, edit the video, and I use iMovie for that. Publish it to YouTube and Vimeo. I'll write a blog post, and then I'll figure out what kind of social broadcast I'm going to use so that I can bring people into the to where the video is housed, and they can learn more about us. So it's simple, but the social broadcast is something that really can't be overlooked, and it's super easy to embed any type of YouTube video, Vimeo video, anything for Podbean or Lisbon. They can all be embedded into your WordPress site. So another favorite is the photos. Photos are a great way to tell your brand story. Photos are a great way to tell your brand story and kind of let the user create their own brand story as they're viewing the photo. So I always ask the question, what's the best camera to tell your story? And the answer is the one that you have with you. So if you have a DSLR, at your disposal and you have it with you, great. If you just have your iPhone, your Droid, or whatever, just your phone, great. Use that too. We shoot all of our Marketing Press TV videos actually with my iPhone 6S, and we publish it right to YouTube from there. So different publishing tools for photos are, of course, Instagram, Flickr. Facebook is still a very, very powerful photo publishing platform. Think about how many people go there, to check different status updates or news feeds, and they get kind of sucked in, via photo. So don't overlook that one. I also always say that photo is the easiest media to curate user-generated content. So if you can get user-generated content, if you get people starting to tell your brand story through their eyes and through different hashtags or anything like that, that's gold. That's like marketing gold. That's what you really want. I say that, curating user-generated content is like mining for gold. It's elusive but extremely valuable. Don't overlook that, the power of somebody else helping you tell your brand story. So, and of course there's Twitter, and some of the new Twitter tools that I had mentioned are, Periscope, Meerkat, Blab. Periscope, Meerkat are one-to-many, where viewers will type questions and interact, and one person is just talking. But Blab is, there's 4 video screens, and there's 4 chairs, and people can come in and have a discussion, and users can be on the side asking questions still, typing, and it's very conversational. It's super, super fun, and it's very helpful, to help, broadcast the content of, subject matter expertise or creating a community around your product, service, or brand. So it's great you can aggregate, curate, or embed all of your content to your WordPress site. And what you can do then is you can have your site start telling the story with you. So think of things, how can you tell your story? What's the best way? What story do you have to tell? How are you most comfortable? What does your audience respond to? Do they like photo? Do they want, a blab feed embedded? Do they want, videos? Learn that, and then you'll figure out who responds to what. Maybe somebody, if you're going for a conversion point, maybe blab's not the greatest. Maybe, a quick YouTube video is going to help with conversion better. Who knows? But it's important for you to measure all of that. And if you can measure it, you can go ahead and start figuring out exactly who wants what and who needs what. So most importantly, none of this happens unless you do it. So I encourage you to take some of these principles, some of these ideas, and just go ahead and do it. Experiment, have fun with it. Run crazy ideas past your coworkers or co-founders or anybody. Go ahead and have some fun with it. But nothing good with WordPress or anything really happens in the marketing world until you press publish or send or upload. So I encourage you to go ahead and do it. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can ping me on Twitter, again, at grtaylor2. Love to hear from you. And hopefully I see you at a WordCamp soon. Talk to you later. Bye.